Good evening, dear friend. So I had a quick thought here. I was just talking to another dear friend of mine, and we've been discussing time traveling, specifically going from the future into the past, in order to remind ourselves that everything will be all right, and to forgive ourselves for things we've done wrong, for mistakes we've made, for people we've hurt, for hurting ourselves, for not respecting our boundaries, our personal boundaries, and for not loving ourselves enough. Of course, when it comes to people that we hurt, we need to apologize because we've hurt them, right? Because someone else suffered. But when it comes to forgiving ourselves, why would we forgive ourselves, right? Because, well, my friend actually gave me a quote, said a quote that she learned. She said that forgive yourself for doing things earlier. No. Forgive yourself for earlier not knowing things that only time could teach you. Meaning, if we've made mistakes because we did not know any better, because we had to go through a certain experience to learn how to be better, it was not really our fault, right? So the idea is that, I guess, a metaphor. We don't need to ask ourselves, also the metaphor, but basically the point I'm getting to, we don't need to go back and ask forgiveness and forgive ourselves for when we broke that cup when we were 2 or 3 years old, when we went and we broke some electronic tool from dad's collection, because we're 2 years old, we're 3 years old. It was not in our responsibility or in our sphere of understanding to hold ourselves accountable back then about those things. Even though we did mean to reach out with our hands and grab that cup and throw it on the floor, we did not really know what we were doing. And the proof of that is that today, none of us is breaking cups or electronic tools belonging to our dad. So we learned. So we don't need to go in the past and ask forgiveness for having broken those cups, or forgive ourselves for doing something bad when we were back then because we didn't know. So if we're going to the past to forgive ourselves, or if we're forgiving our past actions, that means ultimately we're still feeling the guilt. We're still not accepting ourselves back then. We're still not accepting that we did not know any better. We're still not believing in ourselves. Because really there's no difference between us then and us now, except for the additional understanding. We're unchanged. If we do not accept ourselves then, we still are not accepting ourselves today, even though we're deluding ourselves that we think that we're forgiving ourselves and we're accepting ourselves. That was confusing. If we cannot forgive ourselves back then, when we didn't know any better, that means even though we're thinking we know better now, we're really not forgiving ourselves. We're not in acceptance with ourselves. It's like there's a concept that darkness is a good thing, because without darkness we would not appreciate the light. Without darkness we would not know that there is light and we should strive to reach it. We should strive to walk towards the light and become lighter, right? So in a way darkness is a good thing. And when we finally reach the light and we're enlightened, it also gives us the understanding to know that back then, because we saw the darkness and we saw the light somewhere towards the end of the tunnel, we're able to walk there and get there. Without darkness, there would be no light. It's like diving, gaining speed, and reaching up higher. ascending higher. Descent for the sake of the ascent. And if you think about this, we are still the same person. Because whether it's dark or it's light, we are the observer who saw both and who sees both, and he sees the transition and saw ourselves back then and see ourselves back now. We are the observer that never changes. Time is relative. Time is a construct. The darkness and the light are only states of mind, of understanding, of perception. We accept ourselves here, then we accept ourselves there. If we don't accept ourselves at any of these points, present, past, or future, we are only one observer in the middle. Therefore, that quote that says, forgive ourselves back then, earlier, for things you did not know that only time could teach you, is still speaking from the point of the past where we did not accept ourselves. Now that we're enlightened and now that we know better, we actually know that this was needed for this to happen. Therefore, it's like practicing math and making mistakes during the math exercises, so that after 5, 10, or 20 exercises, we finally get how to do it, how to work them out. We do not feel bad for not making mistakes in the early exercise, because those are exercises for a purpose of understanding now. Therefore, we do not need to forgive ourselves in the past. We need to love ourselves in the past and love ourselves in the present. Everything that happened and everything that is happening and will happen is good. And we're at the right place at the right time. And the proof of that is that we're improving, we're understanding, we're becoming more enlightened. The only forgiveness, actually, we do need to ask is if we did hurt someone, not because we hurt them in a state when we did not know any better, but because the hurt, the negative change, transition happened through our actions, because we were the conduit, the intermediary that brought them that negative condition. It's another metaphysical topic where about reward and punishment and the vectors of punishment, and we're asking them forgiveness because they may not have the understanding about the light and darkness that we do have. We do not wish to bring darkness to anyone or anything through our actions, whether we know or don't. We do not wish to be the conduit. But if that happens, obviously it's because we did not know any better, and that is good. But only subjectively, only objectively and subjectively, but not from that person's perspective. If they know, then they know. So yeah. Even though it's 2 a.m. and it may be dark outside, but let there be light. Here's the talking call with you.